I was working at Parlor, and obviously the pandemic happened, and we were all out of work. And so when I went back to work in May, we were kind of thinking, people are hungry to meet people. People, like, the bars were crazy when we opened back up.
Oh, I know.
And so we were like,
what a time.
I know. Oh my gosh. That was some of the most fun. But, yes. So both of us, like, I've never really used dating apps. He used to use them and said never again. So we just kind of saw a problem. We'd had ideas before about, we called it the concierge app, like kind of like Yelp, but with local guides, kind of like Airbnb does it, but more specified to like a local experience and being able to know where to go without Yelp.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier. But we couldn't really figure out how to make that happen. And so then we got this idea, well, why don't we do it through a dating app where local people can post what they want to do.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Girls on Fire. Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode. I have a very important and very special guest. Her name is Alexis, and she's a very good dear friend of mine. Say hello.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. Happy New Year.
So Alexis is co-founder of the ZATE app. And if you guys don't know what the ZATE app is, well, you're about to find out.
Yeah. Hey. So ZATE is a dates app. We don't say dating app because it's different. So you post what you want to do and see who wants to do it with you. And whether that's friends or dates, whatever you're looking for. And I mean, that's pretty much our elevator pitch. We can get into it a little bit more later, probably. But.
Well, I really like, because the last time that you and I talked, was something that really stuck with me was kind of like, you know how, especially like with us being in the service industry, fun fact, Alexis is a fellow member of the service industry fam. But it was just like, for us, like when a lot of people are like, hey, where's a good spot to go to watch sports, or where's a good like pet friendly bar, like those kind of questions that we get asked all the time. Yeah. And something that really stuck with me was the fact that you guys really hyper focused on that. Like you're like, well, like we have an app for that. Mm-hmm. But also to like the really cool part about Austin too is like everybody wants to like connect and like get to know each other. And because it's such a transparent city and everybody's moving here, yep. I think it's like a really good like app. Like I remember I used to, when I had first moved to Austin, I downloaded Bumble. But not for the dating aspect, but like for Bumble friends, BFF. Yeah. And I really like that. And I like that you guys had taken that and have done it, but in a more like Austin-like setting.
Totally. So kind of what she's talking about is if you don't know what you want to do, if you don't know what you want to post to find your friend or date, we give you curated categories and suggestions from local, I don't want to say influencers, but local experts like Esther. She curated She curated a sports bars category for us because I hit her up and I was like, you work at a sports bar, you know where to go for sports. And so she made one for us, and you can use that to create a ZATE and say, like, I want to go watch the Bills at Parlor, or I want to go watch LSU at Rustic.
Yeah. I really like that you said that we could just like write whatever, because I had Twee and Sam write like I was like, okay, pick a couple bars. And it was really exciting because it was like from our words, not something that was like
we don't want our voice in it. We want your voice because you're the expert, you know. And I think we talked about before too how Yelp isn't perfect. You can go to Yelp and see like horrible reviews, especially about bars, because drunk people get pissed off and they leave shitty reviews. We can't control that, you know. But with us, if you are wondering what to do, we have local people in the community that give you recommendations in their own voice and tell you what they love about the place. So that's kind of our goal. So we have the sports bars. We have a live comedy category curated by Hans Kim. We have like dog-friendly patios. We have oyster spots. All of these different things. And so kind of whatever you want to do, hopefully we have something for you. But if we don't, you can create your own. and use your own personality, you know, to find people who are like-minded. People even use it like looking to find fellow creatives. It can be broad. It doesn't have to be a date at a place. It can just be like, I'm looking to meet people who are like-minded.
No, I think it's so cool. Like, it's funny because, like, you bringing up, like, Yelp. I was literally talking about it with one of my friends. Well, she's, like, a regular, but we're friends now. She had looked up, like, places to get a massage. And I was like, she's like, oh, this place has terrible reviews. And I was like, don't base it off of reviews at all. Because I was like, have you looked at the reviews for where you're at now? And she's like, no. And then she went on Yelp and was looking at all the reviews, and we were giggling. Because it was just like people, I think that this is really cool because it's more targeted to like our generation versus like, I think Yelpers are more for like our parents' generation.
Totally.
So I think this is more cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really
they want to
like
go to like the most well-known place that like the more reviews it has and the better reviews it has, the more they trust it. But that's not always. There are restaurants in Austin, I won't talk about which ones, but that I know have great reviews, and I'm like, and they have a ton of them. I'm like, I would never send people there.
Yeah.
People just go because it's like near the convention center or whatever. So if you're visiting Austin, you're like, oh, this place looks really good, we'll go there. But you're not getting the Austin experience.
No, I think it's really cool that you've created it from the perspective of actual people that live in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, and as we expand, that's the goal in every city too. So we're hoping to expand to Dallas this year. That's our next city that we'd like to move to. And then more after that. But we're going to have to find those local professionals in every single city. So, but that's so fun for me because I get to meet all these cool people that, you know, have cool ideas and recommendations. And
well, I just think the fact that you created an app, I think that's so cool. Do you know how many people are always like, I have an idea for an app?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it never goes into fruition. It's never like, it's an idea, but you've manifested it. And I think that's so freaking cool. Like, I love being like, my friend Alexis, she started an app. It's called ZATE, download it. Mm-hmm. I feel really cool doing that because it's like, I think also when you start something like for example, like an app, just like almost like how I started the podcast, it's very scary. You don't know what you're doing. And it's just kind of like learning as you go, but then you discover so much about yourself and then you throw your passion in it, like wholeheartedly, and it flourishes.
100%. And it's funny how many people come up to us and they're like, oh, I've had an idea like that before. Or they're like, this is my idea for a dating app and it's super similar. And it's like, well,
how many people, I have a question. How many people ask you how to start an app?
Not a lot, really. And
really?
Yeah, I'm lucky because my boyfriend was kind of the one that he had started an app before, and so he is the entrepreneur. Like, he's got an entrepreneur soul. His dad is a self-made businessman, and so he is also like very driven to create his own thing. And I'm lucky that, you know, I got to see that perspective from him. Because, you know, I've been in the service industry since I was 16, and I've always wanted to do more, but seeing him actually do it really inspired me and showed me that, you know, you can have an idea, but you have to follow through with it and make it happen. And anyone can do it. You just need to make a business plan. If you need investors, go talk to people and make it happen. You know, it's like, it's not unattainable. It's not out of reach. We still live in America. You know, you can, if you're driven, you can do it.
No, I think that's really cool. Because, like, I feel like, especially, like, in the industry, too, you see all these different people that come in and they do so many different things. Like, you'll meet lawyers and you'll meet creators. You'll meet, like, chefs and just so many different fields, like graphic designers and, you know, restaurant owners. There's just so many people that you meet, and it's just, like, sometimes, like, you can get an idea. Like, I remember I switched my idea so many times. So I was like, really like your vibe, what do you do? And it's like, oh, you're a graphic designer. It's like, ooh, that sounds fun. That seems like something maybe I would like.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's just like trying to just like figure out exactly like what it is that you want. But it's like, for me personally, like when I started the podcast with Sam, it was just based off of the simple fact that I didn't get to go to a Botox party. And then it just manifested into this, but it was very scary to start.
Yeah.
So the fact that you and your boyfriend have created this is so inspiring and it's so cool. Like, good job, girly.
It's stressful every day, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, building your own thing is, like, you're the one that has to make every decision. Mm-hmm. You're the one that takes risks. You're the one that second guesses yourself, but you just have to keep going and work hard and manage your time wisely and keep your goal in mind.
Yeah. So how did you and your boyfriend meet?
Well, we met in New Orleans. So I had dropped out of college a year or two before I met him, and I worked in like a nice fine dining restaurant in Columbia, South Carolina for a few years, or a couple years, I guess, and learned how to bartend there. I literally started bartending the day I turned 21 in a craft cocktail bar. My mentor, Josh Streetman, is just like one of my favorite people in the world still. He's a true mixology professional. And so I got to learn from him and just had a great experience there, saved money. And then I went on a trip to Europe and the Middle East by myself for a few months. And
ooh, how cool.
Oh, man, it was the best. I started my trip in Amsterdam and spent, like, a lot of my money in Amsterdam on, you know, weed and mushrooms and truffles and all that kind of stuff. So,
yes.
So I had to be smart with the rest of the trip, but I had a great experience and it was so much fun.
You really, like, discovered yourself.
Totally. Well, I needed it. I had just broken up with my boyfriend of only 6 months, but I just, like, needed to be alone and kind of, like, come into myself as an adult, coming off of dropping out of college, ending a relationship, and then, you know, just feeling the freedom of exploring where I wanted, going where I wanted, and I had a great time. You meet the most amazing people in hostels.
How old were you at the time?
21. I turned 22.
Ooh.
I turned 22 in Barcelona and then flew home that day. Yeah.
You turned 22 in Barcelona, in a different country?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
So there's kind of a funny story with that. So there was this man in Colombia that was rich and, like, had sugar babies, but I wasn't interested in being, like, a sugar baby. I just wanted to, like, this guy took interest in me and I was like, well, I don't have to fuck him, you know. But he ended up being like, let me come and meet up with you in Spain. And I was like, sure, whatever. Like, we'd hung out in groups before and stuff like that. And it was always fine, but then he took me to Barcelona and everything changed. I just felt, like, awful about it because he started, like, withholding things from me because I wasn't having sex with him. And and then we went to, and I kind of saw that coming, but I thought I was better than that. I thought I was smarter than that. I was like, not me. I can handle it.
Yeah. But you were also, like, what? You were 22?
21, yeah. Going on 22. So.
You're still so young.
And I had my phone and, like, a lot of my shit stolen the 3 days before he got there. So he got me a phone. I had, like, no independence with him. And then we went to Lake Como, and it should have been this amazing experience, but, like, it was raining the whole time, and that was how I felt on the inside because I just had this amazing experience in Europe by myself and, like, meeting the coolest people, and then I was going to the nicest places, and I just felt, like, unhappy.
You wanted an adventure.
Yeah, well, it just felt, like, all, like, superficial, and I was like, this isn't the experience that I am having.
No, I totally understand.
So then we got
I think as a woman, every girl can relate to this.
Yeah, and, you know, I was dumb. It was stupid of me to put myself in that situation. But so then I decided I was so uncomfortable I had to leave. And I told him, I'm like, can you schedule me an earlier flight home, please? I'm not feeling well. I had an eye infection that I got in Dubai. My cousin and I went on this, like, camel ride and Bedouin experience that they had where we, like, went out to the desert, rode camels, smoked hookah, and had like Middle Eastern food in tents and stuff like that. It was awesome. But I got an eye infection that was really bad. Like, I almost couldn't see out of my left eye, and it was fucked for a while. So I told him, I'm like, I'm not feeling well. My eye's fucked. I need to go see a doctor in the States. I'd already been to a couple doctors out there, and nothing was helping. So I was like, I need to go home. And he's like, oh, okay, well, why don't you go up to the room and I'll take care of it. And I was like, no, I was already having like the heebie-jeebies at this point. I just didn't feel good about what was happening.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, let's book it now. So he called and he's like, I can't get a hold of them. Or he's like, I need to get a chip for my phone. I'm like, you've been using your phone the whole time, but it doesn't matter. Let's go upstairs and use the hotel phone. And so long story short, I got on the phone with the airline and they were like, it seems as though someone somewhere has tried to cancel your flight. And I was like, no. And they go, ma'am, are you in danger? And I said, yes, please get me on the quickest flight you can. And so I ended up getting on a flight the next morning on my birthday, on my 22nd birthday. And so I booked the ticket and he's like, okay, well, I'll give you a ride to the airport. And I'm like, okay. And so then he was like, I'm going to go shopping. Do you want to come? I was like, no, I don't. So while he was gone, I booked a hostel for myself and I packed my bag and I got the fuck out of there. But then, and we were sitting at the W Barcelona, like looking out over the ocean. I was just like, I got to get the fuck out of here. So I packed my bag, I got out, and I ran into him like almost a mile from the hotel. What are the fucking odds? I run into him there. And so, anyway.
I think he knew.
Probably. Like, I hope he wasn't straight up following me. I was scared.
Dude, I don't blame you.
Yeah, and so... Anyway, this story's not relevant to the service industry or to ZATE, but...
No, but I'm, like, so intrigued. Trust me, I've been in a similar situation.
It was a defining moment. And so I confronted him on everything. I was like, I think you tried to cancel my flight. You've been making me very uncomfortable. You've been hard to be around. All you talk about is money and possessions, and I'm not into it, so I have to go.
You said this?
Yeah, I said all of it. I was like...
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I was not having it. So I left him. I went and stayed in a hostel. And I rang in my birthday playing like card games with these French people that barely spoke English, but I had the best time and I was back on the trip that I was having, you know, and then I got on a plane the next morning and made it to the States. So yeah, that was how I rang in my 22nd birthday. And I'm really glad it was like that and not me just who knows what would have happened if I hadn't stood up for myself. So
no, that's really scary.
Stupid decisions at first, but then
that's the part
finally woke up. Yeah.
But yeah, what would you tell yourself now to that version of you, or like the younger version of you?
It's tough to say that I would tell her anything because, like I said, that moment was so
very defining,
and it's like, well, I learned a lot, and now I know what's important to me. I don't care if I stay in the nicest hotels. I don't care. I just want to have the best experience. And I guess that does kind of bring it back to ZATE too, because, you know, it's all about the experience. And that's what we're really trying to provide for people is a true, fun, good experience in a city.
Like the people, like from people that like know the city very well.
Exactly. Because when you travel, you always ask locals, where do I go?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy how like things like that will like impact your life, but they play a part in your future. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't have that moment, like where would you be right now?
I wouldn't have learned, you know. I mean, people who don't make dumb mistakes like that are lucky that they're already smart, but I needed to make mistakes to be smarter, you know. So
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
And so then you came back to the States. Did you go straight to New Orleans?
Kind of. I went home to Illinois and stayed with my parents for a few months and worked at a restaurant around where I grew up in Illinois. Saved a little bit of money, and then actually I was having trouble saving money. I suck at my finances. I'm like the worst at saving. I don't even know what I spend my money on, but
on experiences.
Yeah, I don't say no. So I was having trouble saving money, but I like, you know how it is when you're at home for too long, you got to get the fuck out, especially after I came off of this solo independent experience. And so I was just kind of like starting to get, and it was the winter in Illinois, I was getting seasonal depression. I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And so then on New Year's Eve night, like right after midnight, we had closed the restaurant. We were all sitting in the restaurant smoking blunts and drinking together and having an awesome time. I love that restaurant so much. Shout out Vinny. But so as we're leaving, the GM of the restaurant, and I got in our car, said goodnight, and then I started backing out, but he was in a truck and I was in a little car. He didn't see me. He backed right into me and crushed my car. So, like, luckily both of us were plenty sober enough not to, like, you know, be concerned, but we still didn't call the cops. We were like, we'll take care of this later. You know, like, we were just smoking inside the restaurant. We're like, we're gonna go home and figure this out later. So his insurance ended up, like, paying for my car because it was totaled, and so I used that money to move to New Orleans, where I moved down there, and I had these plans to live with this girl, but we went and toured this perfect apartment that I was in love with, best location off of Magazine Street in the Lower Garden, and exactly where I wanted to live, ideal. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to sign. And she goes, well, what's your hurry? I'm like, bitch, I got my car full of shit over here.
I'm trying to move.
I'm trying to move in right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, I don't think I'm ready. We've been talking for 3 months. Anyway, so that didn't work out as it was meant not to, in hindsight. So then I ended up staying in a hostel in New Orleans, and I had to get a storage unit to put all my stuff in because my mom dropped me off and went home, and I was just kind of down there with no one, no car. I was staying in a hostel, but I was down for it because I miss traveling, and I don't need to have a plan. I trust that I'm going to figure shit out, you know? But so then 2 nights in, the night before I started my job down there, I met my boyfriend, and we hit it off. We were talking and smoking, and he was like, I'm going out. Do you want to come? I'm like, absolutely not. No, I don't.
You're like, no, thank you.
Yeah, and so he ended up being out until, well, so I was like, I have to go to my storage unit and get ready for work in the morning because stupid me worked at a fine dining restaurant where I had to press my shirt instead of actually just working in a bar on Bourbon where I made 5 times as much money and got to go to work however I wanted. I just didn't know enough at the time. I come off of fine dining and I was like, it's fine dining or bust, you know?
Yeah.
I just like, it was another dumb thing, but now I know again.
And they're all like learning lessons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then he went out until 6 a.m. He said he would be there to get me at 9, and he was. And I'm like, oh, a man of his word. I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm like, there's no way this guy makes it at 9 a.m., but he did. And so because I had nowhere to go, he was on a road trip going to Boston. He didn't have anywhere to be at a specific time. He was also kind of like in a limbo phase of his life. We needed each other for sure at the time. Like, it was all meant to be that we met. And so then we ended up moving to Austin together a month later 2 months later. So we bounced around hostels and Airbnbs for a month, but it was Mardi Gras, so we had to get really creative with where we stayed, and we have some like really funny stories from that time. But
oh, I'm so sure.
I know. So, and then I ended up moving in with this oyster shucker. He's the number 2 oyster shucker in the country. So I stayed in the middle of his shotgun house, like where he had to walk through my room to go to the bathroom and go to the living room and all that kind of stuff. But he was awesome. He'd just gotten out of prison, but he always like made me breakfast and dinner and supplied me with like weed, or I had friends come in for a music festival and he like wrapped up this little present for me with like festival goodies. And it was awesome. So then a month later, my boyfriend was still around. He couldn't really figure out what he was doing. He was about to rent an apartment there, but something just wasn't right. And so one morning I was like, do you want to move to Austin together? Because it was my second choice from New Orleans, and I didn't really feel like again, just something in my gut said, let's go to Austin. And he said, yeah, sure. So we packed up the car that day and stayed on South Congress when we first got here. And then got an apartment together, and I got a job at a restaurant here. And then a few months later, I started working at Parlor and Yard, which, shout out, love you guys. It was one of the, like, all my homies work there. I love all of them so much. Like,
that's where you'll find me in the wild.
Yeah,
I literally live at Parlor.
Yeah.
I walk in, I'm like, I own this bitch. I don't literally, but it's such a safe environment, and I love everybody that works there. That's actually how I met you.
It is, yeah.
That's where we met. We actually met at Parlor in Yarn. I think I met you back in 2019, probably. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember that. Yeah. You had the really pretty curls and you were just super bubbly, and I was just like, I want to be friends with her.
Yeah, and you're so fucking nice too, and so beautiful as well. And I know you had like moved from Vegas not long before that, right? Yeah. Like, how long before that did you?
So basically, I left Vegas because I got in a bad breakup, and then I went back to Arizona, and then I was working at this bar, and then I got fired because these freaking biatches. Anyways, it was actually like the best like blessing in disguise because they ended up like, I ended up having New Year's off finally, and so I came down to visit a friend, and then she convinced me to move down here, so I did. I literally got a job on, my flight back home was the 7th. My start date at my new job was on the 11th. So as soon as I got home, I packed up my car and I came out here. And it was like the best decision. I believe that things happen for a reason. There's
100%.
Yeah, there's lessons that you need to learn in life. Like, I think that's so freaking cool that you got to go and travel when you were like 21. I spent my birthday in Vegas.
Tough. Nobody wants to do that.
But you got to spend it like in Barcelona. But I've had similar situations that you've encountered, and it's so grateful that you're safe and that like you stood up for yourself, because that takes a lot of guts. Because I was in that similar position, like in different forms and different, like, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
But I think it all stems like with every lesson that you learn. Like, I think everything kind of happens for a reason. So how crazy 100%. Is it that you had to leave and then go back home, and then you had to go to New Orleans, and then you met Matt, and then you guys decided to come to Austin. Mm-hmm. And then how did the idea of ZATE come up? I mean, I know the story, but I feel like everybody wants to know it.
Now we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
So, I was working at Parlor, and obviously the pandemic happened, and we were all out of work. And so when I went back to work in May, we were kind of thinking, you know, people are hungry to meet people. People, like, the bars were crazy when we opened back up.
Oh, I know.
And so we were like,
what a time.
I know. Oh my gosh. That's some of the most fun. But, yes. So both of us, like, I've never really used dating apps. He used to use them and said never again. So we just kind of saw a problem. We'd had ideas before about, we called it the concierge app, like kind of like Yelp, but with local guides, kind of like Airbnb does it, but more specified to like a local experience and being able to know where to go without Yelp.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier. But we couldn't really figure out how to make that happen. And so then we got this idea, well, why don't we do it through a dating app where local people can post what they want to do.
Yeah.
And then you can like find your people that way. So we sat down and conceptualized it for a few days because I think it was when we closed for the second time. So we sat down and conceptualized it. I drew up the wireframes for it, and I wasn't familiar with how to make an app going into that, but he had made an app before, so he kind of knew the steps we needed to take. Like, we needed to have, you know, the concept down. We needed to have wireframes built out, like what the app would look like and the functionality of it on paper, so that we could take that to a designer and developer and talk to them about it and hire them and make it happen. So we sat down and conceptualized all of it and then hired the team. And we had to do like a friends and family round of fundraising to be able to pay. But our developer was a good friend of his. And then the designer was a good friend of his. So like we were able to do it not cheaply, but it was doable. You know, with what
Didn't you learn a trade while doing this?
Yeah, so I didn't know UX design existed. That's what I do for ZATE now, is I'm officially the UX designer. So UX design is designing apps and websites, and it's, you know, the functionality, the look of it and everything, and then you hand it off to the developer to actually make it happen. So if it was a house, it's like I'm the architect, and then the developer is like the contractor.
Okay.
So I didn't know that existed before we hired Eugene, who designed the app at first. He designed it up until I started last March. Mm-hmm. And I've taken over since then. Now I'm full-time designing the app, and I'm doing a whole redesign right now, and it's so much fun. I absolutely love it.
Hell yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you used to design like the boards?
Yeah. Okay, I should definitely talk about that. That's how I knew this might be something I'd be good at, because before, basically since I moved to Austin, I've been designing like chalkboards and A-frames to put in front of businesses. And so, that's like a little mix of, that's mostly graphic design, but the principles are still similar. You have to use design principles to communicate messages and all this kind of stuff. So I did chalkboards and A-frames, but it got really frustrating because I'm not great with drawing like straight lines. so UX is a lot easier because I can hit undo and it just
it goes away
itself. Yeah. So it was like I've always kind of had a knack for like layouts and fonts and colors, and that sort of stuff is right up my alley, and that's a lot of what UX is about. And then also understanding people and habits and just being thoughtful about problem solving. So it's really fun for me. I love it so much. And what was the original question that I'm trying to answer?
So we've been having happy hour courtesy of Austin Eastsiders. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Anytime that you ever hop on a podcast, it is always nerve-wracking. Trust me, I was super nervous and she's been nervous. So we're
drinking.
We're feeling ourselves. But no, so basically I want to ask really a question is, do you feel like you found your purpose?
Oh, 100%. And the thing is, like, did I dream of creating a dating app? No, but it's been awesome. Oh yeah, so that was what we were talking about. So I didn't realize this was a thing until I saw Eugene designing it, and I said, that's something I really want to do. And I didn't totally do it with the idea of designing for ZATE, even though I always had ideas and I always had things that I wanted to be done in the app. But I was like, I'm going to do this for me, So I did it. I went through a boot camp. It was 3 months where they give you like a very general overview of how to do this career, but then it takes a lot of work after that to actually become good at it and learn more.
Yeah, practice makes perfect.
Yeah, they just give you like an intro, and then this is something that's pretty not easy to teach yourself, but it's very doable to teach yourself, especially if you get like background education on it, and you can work, in a class and learn from each other and do projects and that sort of thing. So I created a portfolio there, and I was gonna kind of look for another job, but then Matt was like, just work on ZATE. And so I
just do this.
Yeah. And so originally he hired me as like a intern, and then I just kind of worked at it, and now I'm getting a lot better, and now I'm the full-time designer on it, and I'm making the app my own. And yeah, I do feel like I'm in the right spot. I think I'm really good at what I do, and I have a lot of fun doing it, so it's rewarding.
Do you have any advice for anybody else that's wanting to start an app?
Start an app? Yeah, just put your idea on paper. If you can, draw wireframes and actually make it look like something, that's great. And then create a business plan. And the biggest thing is money. Like, you have to pay people unless you yourself can design or code. Then I say just start making it. It's really just starting. If you don't have the skills yet, go get the skills. Go to YouTube. Learn as much as you can. Look into taking classes. And especially if the biggest thing with an app is you have to identify a problem that you can solve. And then you have to make the solution. So whether that's doing research on how the solution would best serve people, or, just being creative in yourself. And if you think you have a solution, just put it on paper and then see if anyone's interested in picking it up as a project, or see if you can. It's kind of like starting a bar. Like, if you have a concept, go find people that believe in your concept, sort of thing.
No, that's a really great way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been working on ZATE? How long has it been up and running?
Yeah, it's been on the App Store since like November of 21.
Okay.
And lately we've been like totally revamping it. So we've like kind of chilled on marketing for now because we need to be smart with our strategy. So the app is changing so much from appearance to functionality to everything. We're like totally kind of rolling out a new app almost. I mean, it's still kind of the same, but yeah, so now it's been almost a year and a half since we launched, and we're just kind of chilling for the second, but new big things are coming, and I've had a hand in all of them, so I'm really excited for all that to come out.
I think it's really cool that you used all your experiences. You kind of just like essentially you met Matt. I think that is so freaking awesome. And then you guys came together and really just built a team to really do something that is both beneficial for both not only the community of Austin, but like for you personally. Like you got to discover a new trait about yourself. You got to discover like your purpose. And I think that is so freaking cool. Good job. Round of applause.
Thank you.
It's scary. It's hard.
It is scary, but I've also been able to use like my service industry connections to get us in touch with, you know, like Instagram accounts that we've used to market, or even like getting Hans Kim to curate a category for us. I know him through my job at Vulcan, which not only am I a UX designer, I also work at Vulcan a couple nights a week for the comedy shows, which if you guys ever get the chance, if you've never been before, you gotta go check out a show.
It is really fun. I really do enjoy the Kill Tony show. Shout out.
Kill Tony's hilarious. Rogan is there every Tuesday and Wednesday for the most part, and he always brings in, like, who knows. Last time I worked, I got to see Tom Segura.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which I've been waiting for ever since he moved to Austin, like a year ago, probably. But
oh, how fun.
Yeah, so I just feel blessed. Like, I've been thinking about it as the year closes out, and I'm like, man, sometimes, you know, I go through the ups and downs too, and
well, you're only human.
Yeah, exactly. Like the anxieties and the stresses and self-deprecation and all those things. But I'm like looking back on this last year, I'm like, damn, my life's cool, man. Like I've been having a great time. I get to work on this project. I get to work for myself basically, and you know, create something with my own two hands, my own mind and imagination, and then I get to, you know, live in Austin and go. The amount of cool bands I've seen in the last year is awesome. Austin's the best.
It is the best,
right? And I work at the coolest comedy club around, and I get to see some of the best acts, so I'm really thankful for this last year for sure.
I think the real cool and beautiful thing about this whole episode is the fact that you went through so much to get exactly to where you are, but you didn't let those experiences stop you from really going out, and you met somebody that helped push you into the direction that you needed to go. And the fact that you're in the service industry is also very inspiring, because if you're listening to this episode and you're also in the service industry, which I hope, because it's the best job ever. But this is something to take away, is that you can create something. That if you have an idea, literally just create a vision board and map it out and just go for it. And you'd be really amazed at the community that will help you. Like, I would not be successful if it wasn't for the people in Austin, because they believe in you, and they believe in you, they'll believe in your work, and it's just, there's nothing that you can't do. Manifestation is so real.
I feel that in my soul, man, for sure. Because, you know, there were times where, like everyone else, maybe if you've never felt like this, I'm so happy for you, but I questioned what I was doing. I'm like, what's next? I don't want to be stuck just bartending. Like, I feel like I have more to offer, and I think a lot of us feel like that, you know.
Oh yeah.
But the money's so good, and we make good friends, and like we have fun, and we drink, and you know,
cheers.
Cheers. And so, you know, sometimes it's easy to
go down that rabbit hole and then stay down that rabbit hole, because trust me, I've had the same thoughts. Like, I've questioned, even while doing this, like, am I doing the right thing? Like, are people like viewing me differently? Like, it's really scary, and the struggles are real. Like, anxiety, stress, everything comes into play whenever you go after something that, you know, fulfills you and makes you happy. And it's just like, you don't have to be in the industry to, like, you don't have to feel like you are only going to like just be the bartender. There's so much more that you can do. Like, I would you have to use the tools that you have in order to become like the person that you want to be. Like I would not be anywhere if it wasn't for the people in the service industry. Just like you would not be where you are if it wasn't for the connections and the people that helped you that you've met in the industry. And I think that's what's so freaking beautiful. And I think that's what's really cool about your whole concept. Like I'm all about what you're doing. Like I'm so supportive. We all eat at the table. There's so much abundance, and like if I can help in any way, I will. Yeah. Because I love that I love Austin so much as a city, and you do too, and I think that the app shows for it, and I think it's just such a great idea, and congratulations to you and Matt.
Thank you.
Of course.
We have fun.
We have so many big plans for this year.
For sure.
So
2023 is going to be big. We're going to do our vision boards. We're going to make them happen.
Yes. So I want to thank everybody that tuned into this episode and that listened to it. If you haven't already, go follow ZATE.
Please download the app.
Download the app. Go find it on your app store at ZATE, ZATE. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at ZATE app, ZATEAPP. Go follow their cool content. Go follow their journey. I think it's so cool.
Yeah. And create a ZATE. Like, everyone can use... I mean, not everyone, but most people can use more friends. Like, all of our friends don't always have the same interests as us. Or, if you're stuck swiping on Bumble or Tinder, just stop.
Just try something different.
Yeah. And just,
what are your
our whole goal is to show people's personalities more than just their, picture. And we don't make people swipe. Like, you don't have to say yes or no to anyone. You can scroll through and see what everyone's up to and see what you're interested in. Like, if you remember someone from up at the top of the feed, you can go back and check them out and, just kind of make your plans that way. We want to help people make plans, really. Find friends, find dates, but make plans and make fun plans.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can feel it. And I think it's just so cool. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks. Like I said, we all eat at the same table.
We all drink at the same table too.
Yeah. And cheers. And that concludes our little happy hour. So thank you for Austin Eastsiders for providing us with the liquor. And make sure to stay tuned for new episodes of Girls on Fire every Monday.
We love you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.